There comes a time when the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. Yes, shut up and watch your life change. Not out of defeat, not out of surrender to the world, but out of spiritual power, divine intelligence, and inner mastery. Because in the silence, something extraordinary happens. The noise fades. The chaos stills. The voice of your highest self speaks. You've spoken your fears long enough. You've repeated your doubts like a broken record. You've narrated your hardships, your heartbreaks, your I can't, I won't, and nothing ever works for me, as if those words were law. But let me tell you this, your words have built the very walls you feel trapped inside. And the moment you stop speaking defeat, the moment you shut your mouth and listen, truly listen, you will hear something greater rising within you. You'll hear the whisper of purpose. You'll hear the thunder of faith. You'll feel the current of life pushing you toward everything you were born to receive. Because the truth is, when you align with the power within, you no longer need to speak against what you fear. You no longer need to explain yourself to people who cannot see your vision. You no longer beg, chase, or cry out for the good that's already yours by divine inheritance. You simply stand still. You speak only what builds, blesses, and brings life. And you watch. Watch the doors open. Watch the burdens lift. Watch the impossible bend to the will of the infinite. So I challenge you today. Stop talking about the problem, and start living in the solution. Speak less, believe more. Complain less, trust more. Fear less, expect more. Shut up, and watch your life change. Because it will. It has to. That's not just belief. That's a law. And you, my friend, were born to live by divine law, not by human limitation. Now go, walk in silence, walk in power, and watch the world bow to the truth you carry within. Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of point 2. Silence aligns you with divine order in approximately 500 words, written in the inspired, powerful tone of Florence Scovel Shinn'S metaphysical teachings. Silence is not the absence of action, it is the presence of power. In a world obsessed with noise, with constant opinion, chatter, and endless explanation, silence becomes a revolutionary act. It is not passivity, it is alignment. When you stop reacting, stop speaking out of fear, stop filling the air with doubt and resistance, you enter into the rhythm of divine order. You step into the current of something far greater than your limited understanding. You stop trying to fix everything in your own strength, and you allow the infinite intelligence of the universe to do what it was always meant to do. Lead you, guide you, deliver you. Most people think that if they're not talking, they're not doing enough. If they're not complaining, they're not being heard. If they're not speaking about their suffering, they're not processing it. But the truth is this. Many of us prolong the storm with our own words. We speak out of turn, we speak out of fear, we speak before the wisdom has arrived. And in doing so, we disconnect ourselves from the very solution we are crying out for. But silence, true spiritual silence, is agreement. It is the inner nod that says, I trust the process, even when I do not understand it. I don't need to rush. I don't need to justify myself. I don't need to chase anything. Everything meant for me is moving toward me, in perfect timing, with divine precision. That kind of silence is magnetic. It is creative. It is potent. It attracts solutions, not through effort, but through spiritual alignment. When you stop talking, you start hearing. You begin to sense the inner promptings of spirit, those quiet instructions that don't come through noise, but through stillness. You become aware of the signs, the nudges, the synchronicities, the invisible hand of God rearranging your life, piece by piece, moment by moment. And you realize you were never alone, never forgotten, never without support. You were simply too loud to hear it. So many people ask, what should I do? What should I say? How do I fix this? And the answer, more often than not, is, be quiet, be still, trust. Let the higher laws go to work on your behalf. Let the right people, the right opportunities, the right pathways come forth, not through force, but through flow. There is a divine order to all things, And when you align with it, everything begins to move with ease, grace, and power. Silence is not withdrawal. It is a vote of confidence in the unseen. It is the sacred pause before the miracle. It is the gateway through which all wisdom flows. It is the holding of your tongue when fear wants to speak, so that faith can stand in its place. It is a sacred discipline, a spiritual strategy, a divine key. Shut your mouth. Still your thoughts. And watch the entire universe rearrange itself for your highest good. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot hold both faith and fear in your heart and expect peace to reign. The law of substitution is spiritual truth in motion. It tells us that your mind cannot entertain two opposing thoughts at the same time. One must dominate. One must take root. And whichever thought you feed, that thought will form the blueprint of your life. That is law. That is unbreakable. When you dwell on lack, limitation, sickness, or defeat, you make it your truth. You build a shrine to it in the temple of your mind. And without even realizing it, you begin to worship the very thing you fear. But when you choose to substitute those thoughts with their divine opposites, when you trade fear for faith, doubt for expectancy, worry for praise, you shift the entire energy of your being. And because your inner state is the cause, your outer world must rearrange itself to reflect your new conviction. The world does not change first. You change first, and then the world mirrors that transformation. You do not wait to feel peaceful to think peaceful thoughts. You think peaceful thoughts, and peace follows. You do not wait until everything looks healed to speak of healing. You speak healing, and the body begins to obey. Too many people speak of what they don't want, and wonder why they keep receiving it. They affirm the negative unconsciously, over and over again. I'm so tired. Nothing ever works out. People always let me down. These are not harmless words. They are commands. You speak them into the ethers and then live surprised when they return like boomerangs, striking your life again and again. But you can change the record. You can flip the switch. You can substitute truth for falsehood every single time a lie tries to enter your mental house. You are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the gatekeeper. You decide what stays and what must be cast out. You cannot stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. When worry comes knocking, you don't answer. When fear shouts, you whisper faith instead. When lack creeps in, you boldly declare, "My supply is infinite, and it flows to me now, freely and abundantly." And the more you substitute, the stronger you become. At first, the old thoughts will return like echoes. But you do not argue with them. You do not beg them to leave. You replace them. Again and again, without emotion, without resistance. And one day, without realizing it, you will wake up and the old pattern will be gone, dissolved by the consistency of truth. The mind, once filled with fear, will be a house of light. The tongue, once given to complaint, will speak only of divine good. And your life, once marked by struggle, will now reflect order, peace, and power. That is the law. And it never fails. Your life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Every experience, every relationship, every opportunity or obstacle, is a mirror reflecting the dominant state of your inner world. The outside is simply a projection of the inside. You cannot change the picture by slapping paint on the screen. You must change the film running through the projector. You must change the thoughts you entertain, the words you speak, the beliefs you hold close, for they are the silent architects of your reality. Most people run in circles trying to fix the symptoms of their lives. They hustle, they plead, they worry, trying to change the outer world while leaving the inner world untouched. But that is like trying to change your reflection in the mirror by combing the hair on the glass. It will never work. The mirror only reflects. The life you see around you, your health, your finances, your relationships, your work, is the harvest of the seeds you've planted in thought, word, and feeling. You cannot sow bitterness and reap love. You cannot speak of lack and walk into abundance. You cannot dwell in fear and expect your world to feel safe. When you begin to shift within, your outer world must shift to match it. That is law. That is spiritual principle. When you release resentment and replace it with forgiveness, people around you soften. When you let go of fear and embrace expectancy, opportunities begin to appear. When you stop speaking defeat and start affirming victory, doors open, paths clear, and the impossible becomes inevitable. The universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. And what you are is what you repeatedly think, believe, and speak. This is why it is vital to guard your inner world with sacred vigilance. Don't speak casually of your troubles. Don't repeat stories of failure as if they are your identity. Every word reinforces a vibration, and every vibration calls forth its match. If you don't like what you're living, don't curse it. Change the cause. Shift your focus, renew your thoughts. Speak only what you desire to see. Don't describe your reality. Create it. Speak from vision, not from circumstance. Speak of where you are going, not where you've been. Your life is a mirror, but you are not a prisoner to the reflection. You are the master artist, the divine creator. You have the power to repaint your inner canvas, and when you do, the mirror has no choice but to reflect your new image. It may not happen overnight, but it will happen. Keep the inner state elevated. Keep the vision strong. Keep the thoughts clean and the words aligned with truth. The outer world is clay in the hands of your spiritual awareness. Mold it from the inside, and it will take form on the outside. As within, so without. That is not just a saying, it is the key to everything. Faith is not loud. Faith does not argue. Faith does not plead, beg, or explain. True faith is quiet power. It moves in silence, walks with certainty, and acts without the need for applause. It does not need to be seen by others, because it is already seen by spirit. The one who truly believes does not need to speak much. They know the word has already gone forth. The work is done in the unseen, and they live from that invisible truth as if it were already made manifest. There comes a point when you stop announcing your faith, and you start living it. You no longer feel the urge to convince anyone of what you believe. You no longer feel compelled to explain your journey, your decisions, or your timing. Why? Because you are rooted in divine assurance. You know what's yours. You know it's on the way. And you no longer feel the need to prove it. You don't need a second opinion on what God has already confirmed in your spirit. Faith does not panic when things look delayed. It does not crumble when the outer world seems unchanged. It smiles quietly and says, "It is done." And then it walks as if it's already holding the blessing. That's the power of real faith. It walks ahead of the evidence. It acts before the breakthrough. It gives thanks before there's anything to see. Not because it's trying to manipulate God, but because it knows the blessing already exists in the realm of spirit. The invisible must become visible, but only if you do not disturb it with doubt. You see, every time you speak fear, every time you argue for your limitations, every time you talk about the problem, you step out of the energy of faith and into the frequency of delay. You interrupt the divine process. You dig up the seed. But silence, that sacred silence, is a vote of confidence in the unseen. When you keep your mouth from speaking doubt, you allow divine timing to unfold without interference. The ones who get the miracle are not always the loudest ones in the room. They're often the quietest. They don't tell everyone their plan. They don't announce every step. They move when led, they wait when told, and they speak only when the Spirit gives them the word. And because of that, their results are undeniable. People look at them and wonder, how did they do it? But they didn't do it, they aligned with it. In silence. In trust. In unwavering inner knowing. So if you really believe, stop explaining yourself. If you really trust, stop checking the clock. If you know it's yours, stop chasing it. Faith rests. Faith acts. Faith moves in harmony with divine order, not out of desperation but out of deep spiritual security. You don't have to shout about it. You don't even have to speak. Sometimes, the strongest declaration you'll ever make is the one you don't say. Because faith doesn't talk. It knows.